All right. Good evening, everybody. For the record, it's 5:15 p.m. on Thursday, August 9th, 2018. Time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. Call the meeting to order. First item would be the pledge to our flag. Whose turn is it? Councilmember Harold, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Harold. And for the record today, we have all 7 council members with us this evening. First item on our agenda this evening will be the consent items, which includes this evening's agenda, the vouchers, and minutes from the previous meeting.
I make a motion to approve the agenda, the vouchers, and minutes from the previous meetings.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Huffaker, a second by Councilmember Markart to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda, vouchers, and the minutes. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda this evening would be time for citizen comment. I would ask that these be just for items that are not on this evening's agenda. Just for the record, the public hearing item regarding council districts, we will not take any other public hearing on that this evening. And if you're here for the public hearing item regarding our 6-year TIP, which I'm sure you're all here for that, that would be near the end of today's meeting. So if anybody wishes to address the council on something other than those 2 items, feel free to come up and give us your name and address for the record. Yes, come on up.
Buenas tardes.
Do we need an interpreter? Can you? Name and address for the record.
Puede
Ana,
dar su
you'll make sure you.
dirección.
¿Y su nombre?
Mi nombre es Maite Bielmas.
Ajá, puede hablar aquí.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Maite Bielmas. Mi dirección es 3660 Northwest Cascade, en Wenatchee.
3660 North Cascade, East Wenatchee. Sí.
Mi pregunta es, yo tengo varios años vendiendo en el Parque Manhattan
I have several years selling stuff in Medhow Park.
y ahorita necesito un consejo, una ayuda de parte de ustedes del Departamento de Salud. No quiere que siga vendiendo porque necesita personas que vendan verduras.
Oh, and I need advice or counsel from you because the Department of Health does not want her to stay there and sell her stuff because she doesn't sell vegetables.
Y mi pregunta es, ¿cómo podría yo decirles a ellos o por qué ellos exigen que venda verduras si tengo varios años yo vendiendo sola ahí?
I have several years doing what I'm doing, and I need to know why they have now the requirement that I have to sell vegetables. If you can help her with some comments in regards to that, or we can direct her.
Is this with the farmer's market?
No, in Medhow Park.
No, well,
Yeah, but the.
So what is she currently selling out of her house?
¿Qué vende ahorita?
Comida.
¿Pero qué?
Ah, pupusas, elotes, tamales, raspados.
So it's a
Pupusas.
cooked food item.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Están cocinados todos.
Sí.
Yes, they're all cooked.
So the Department of Health does have rules for those things, and she does have to comply with those rules. The whole idea is if she made a batch and something went wrong and a lot of people got sick, that's what they're trying to do is regulate, make sure she's using proper procedures.
Yeah.
So I have a clarification question. Are they saying that you have to sell vegetables on top of the cooked food, or she cannot sell cooked food at all and only vegetables?
Okay, le están diciendo que solamente puedes vender verduras o que además de lo que ya está usted vendiendo su comida, tiene que vender además de eso vegetales.
Puedo vender lo que yo estoy vendiendo, pero aparte debe haber otras personas que vendan verduras.
¿O otras personas o usted?
No yo, otras, que haya más personas que vendan.
Oh, so she can still sell her stuff, but they want more people who can sell other stuff other than what she's doing.
So that there's a variety.
I guess.
That-
vendor.
Eso no es
of
nada que ver
vendors.
con su
That
puesto.
doesn't make any
Okay.
No.
So, I'm on the Board of Health,
Okay.
so can you write down her
Yep.
name and information and get a phone number? And I'll see if I can follow up with the board over there and
Él
see
está en
if we
ese
can figure out
comité.
what might be going on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And are there other food vendors there when she's there?
Cuando usted está, ¿hay otras personas que venden comida con usted
No,
o no?
nada más yo.
No, just her.
Okay.
Okay,
So
thank
we'll
you.
look into
Let me
it.
see if I can get a better understanding and then maybe I'll work through you for translation.
Yes,
Okay.
that
You make
works.
sure we get a phone number from,
I will.
Just
Okay, thank
for,
you.
to help you, Keith, what other vendors are there?
she says there's not.
Dice que ninguno.
Nada más
¿Usted es
yo.
la única?
Sí, pero ya tengo varios años vendiendo yo sola y apenas este año el Departamento de Salud me está poniendo ese...
She's the only vendor there.
Right, right. And did you get a written notice from the Department of Health?
¿Le llegó una carta escrita o le dijeron nada más?
me
Oralmente.
dijeron, nada más.
¿Oralmente?
Ujú.
No, no letter. They just told her.
Okay.
Doesn't make
Let
sense.
us do some follow-up.
Something's not connecting, so
Yeah,
let's do some follow-up.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay.
Él se va a
Thank
conectar
you.
con usted. Venga
Thank
conmigo,
you.
yo voy a agarrar esa información.
All right. Anybody else wish to address the council on an item that's not on this evening's agenda? Seeing no takers, we have two presentations tonight. The first being from Linda Hagland regarding the Wenatchee Downtown Association Annual Report and others.
Mayor and council, you know we come annually bearing gifts, right?
I was just gonna say, Linda,
A
always
little bit of downtown.
Undervalued, so we don't have to.
De minimis.
source locally.
Thank you.
My only recommendation is not leave them in your car this evening. Or you may have soup.
The Gilded Lily.
Mayor and council, thank you. We get to come annually, and when I print out the agenda for this evening, and it was 3 pages, I will make this timely for you. We just want to, first of all, thank you, myself, Meredith Hilger. We're your downtown power team, small and mighty, and our board president, Stacy Asher. And so we're just here really tonight to say thank you. We got through a challenging year last year, and we came through with flying colors. So some challenges didn't define us, and I think we are better because of that. This year, we're in a lot better shape and moving in that direction. A couple of things I want to bring to your attention about last year is, in spite of that challenge, we launched a couple of new initiatives, and one of them we're really proud of is YP Week. And that one's all on Meredith. And that will happen again in September, and she will be back here for a proclamation coming on. But YP Week is getting bigger and better, and she's doing an amazing job of connecting young professionals in this community, not only to their downtown, but to each other and what is available for them that come and move here. So fun stuff this year is coming. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is we were able to receive a little money from the port, and that allowed us to do some economic development work that we hadn't been able to do before. And you will find in your bag a new thing we're doing, and it is a new business toolkit. We want to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem where people are connected, and we understand, because we're the cheerleaders for small business, it's difficult for them to connect. They get a little lonely out there by themselves, and so this new business toolkit hopefully will connect them in a little different way. And so we will expand on that, and the next one we hope to do is a toolkit to help people develop their upstairs spaces and some connections to that. The other thing we want to bring to your attention tonight, and then we'll open up to questions, is that something fun we're doing that I happened to bring back this idea from National Conference, and that is we're going to honor our heroes the month of November. So you will see an application. I don't need to explain this to Council Member Harrell because she's already submitted her son. So we want to honor those who've served either past, present, any conflict. We want to honor our local heroes. The money will go to pay for the banner, and the rest will support our local VFW, and 100% of what we give them will go to the deployed and the families they support here in the community. We're on a timeline. We want 10 more banners, so we look kind of impressive the whole month of November, and they will hang both both years, month of November this year and next year. So that's our big projects coming up. So we just want to again say thank you, and any questions, you have our annual report before you. And we made through a difficult 2017, and we're glad that's over. Any questions for us?
So the new legislation that passed, and I think I mentioned, asked this before about getting the timing right for the Main Street tax credits, all working beautifully. And
Wonderfully.
no one has to run down on January 1st.
And I can enjoy my new year. Yes, sir. So the gates open the second Monday of the year, and we have, however many communities qualify, it is divided equally. And we have 3 months to get our equal portion. And then when those 3 months are over, whatever's left then is a dialing for dollars. And just to let you know, this year we were able to raise about $104,000,
Good.
which I am way happy, better than 22.
Yeah.
So I'm way happy with that. But again, I think, Mayor, what you ask us to do, and I think we did, as a board and an organization, we have to diversify our funding. We have to figure this out and not depend so heavily. I think we got there last year, and we're mindful and thankful and let us do some things, but we have to be able to survive if anything happens, or hopefully a lot of communities participate, right? And our portion gets smaller.
Well, it's way better. Again, from the city's contribution, we're fine doing it the way we're doing it. I think it's working great, and we're going to continue to do it. And but the frustration was trying to first come, first serve sort of deal didn't sort of work out very well.
And when we met with you in December, we have a list of 5 initiatives, and one of them is lighting downtown. So just to give you a little update on that, the new Christmas tree will arrive in November, and we're going to celebrate and do all kinds of things around our new Christmas tree when it's in the hole. And then we are meeting Monday with 2 people to bid us lighting the plaza, and we'll let you know what that looks like, and then hopefully lighting downtown some. So at least we look a little more festive for the holidays this year moving forward.
Perfect.
Thank
Council
you.
members, any questions for Linda or the staff?
Just thank you.
Yes, thank
You
you
guys are
for,
doing an outstanding job, and I love our downtown.
I do too. Fun things happening downtown, really is. We're on this edge of growth, and we're thrilled about the property owners and what's happening in downtown right now.
Nice to see some new investment, new property owners in our downtown.
Agreed, Mayor. Thank you.
Gonna be
Thank you
super
all.
cool. Yep.
Okay.
All right, thanks, ladies.
thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so next, I get to present a little award to our good friend and council member, Ruth Esparza, who has attained her Certificate of Municipal Leadership. So she's gone through all of the appropriate classes through the Association of Washington Cities. And I know we have a number of council members who have done that, but I get to present Councilmember Esparza her AWC Certificate of Municipal Leadership. So, Ruth, thank you.
Oh, you got Anna.
So other than me, am I the only one that doesn't have it? Most of the rest of you
You just
probably
have
have
to,
one.
you have to log your credits.
Yeah, maybe I should start logging credits. All right, so our first item this evening is a public hearing item. It's a continuation of the previous public hearing item, although without public testimony. So this is regarding our possibility of going to voting districts or wards. So Allison, I guess you're going to present on behalf of the city, and
I
then
am.
we'll see if the council has any questions, then we'll turn it over to the council for any action they may have. So Allison Williams, go ahead.
Great. Alison Williams, Executive Services Director. So at your last regular meeting, July 12th, we had a presentation and public hearing of the process that has taken place to date in regards to the consideration of the council and how council members should be elected. At that meeting, we presented the work of the Electoral Process Committee and their recommendation. We did a review of the work done, public outreach that they had done, and then we reviewed the new Washington State Voters' Rights Act. And we provided an update to the districts as done by Bill Cooper, the expert that we've retained who does this work across the country. So after the consideration of the public testimony, the public hearing was continued to this evening with written comments only taken through last Friday. So during that interceding time period, a significant number of comments were received and have been provided to you as well as a part of this packet that was online this evening. In addition, Councilmember Ruth Esparza reached out to Bill Cooper to have him develop a three-district a look at 3 districts. And so you also have that information in your packet for your consideration as well. Tonight, you are looking at your future system of elections based on our new state law, the Washington State Voters' Rights Act. And the intent is to assure that we have an election system that will provide opportunity for all to have access to elective office. The premise is one person, one vote. And in Washington State, our new Voters' Rights Act has 3 particular tests. Number 1, in regards to protected class, does our city have a large racial, ethnic, or linguistic minority group? Number 2, racial polarized voting. Have we had evidence of elections, not just city council elections? It can be statewide, it can be regional elections, where there's been a pattern of people voting based on race. And the third is vote dilution. And so this is the situation that both Yakima and Pasco have dealt with, that elections happen at a district level, but then when those elections come forward to the general election vote, there can be proof that the votes are diluted, and therefore it makes it difficult for that racial, ethnic, or linguistic minority to be elected to council. And the premise is that your city council is representative of your population and therefore should reflect your population. So this evening, you have ordinances in your packet that would represent the 2 put together by the Electoral Process Committee. So 7 districts, 5 districts with 2 at large. You also have Councilmember Esparza's 3-district. City staff has spent considerable time on this, working through this with the Electoral Process Committee. We are providing a recommendation that based on the new law that council would move to adopt a system of election of council members by district. And so if you were to make that motion this evening, Ordinance 2018-17 is the 7-district plan. And 2018-19 is the 5-district plan with 2 members at large. Any questions? Considerable information that we've provided for you, considerable public comment. In reflecting on this as a staff member for the city, this is a time at which we really have seen our democracy at work. I can't think of an item in which we've had this significant of public input and the care with which people have provided comments to you in thinking about how our council members should be elected. So we ask that you take that work as well as the work of the Electoral Process Committee that you appointed into consideration this night, as well as the staff recommendation as you move forward.
Okay, any questions for Allison? All right, thank you, Allison. What I would say to those in the audience and those listening or watching this has been about a 3-year process. So the council's had all kinds of information and comment and discussion for a long period of time. So this is the culmination, whatever the decision is, of 3 years of hard work. So, All right, thanks, Allison.
Welcome.
All right, I'll turn it over to the council for any action they may be willing to take.
Your Honor, so we have something on the floor to, if anyone wants to discuss this further. I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2018-19, an ordinance of the City of Wenatchee, Washington, adopting Chapter 1.15 zoning districts to the Wenatchee City Code, establishing voting districts for the positions of city council members. And for public clarity, this ordinance proposes to establish 5 districts for council members, with 2 council members elected at large in the city.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Kulas and a second by Councilmember Huffaker to adopt ordinance 2018-19, adding Chapter 1.15 voting districts to the Wenatchee City Code and adopting a 5-district plan for electing council members with 2 districts at large. Discussion. Who wants to go first?
I will start.
Okay.
You know, I do believe that we need diversity on the council. I mean, I'm a little bit of diversity, and so is Linda, as women, me as a Latina. I think it's important to have differences of opinions. It's healthy. It creates a more healthy discussion, a more fruitful discussion. However, I also think it's not healthy to have a community divided. And I don't think it's healthy to weaken one group to strengthen another. I think if we rise together. I think that's a better way to build bridges. And I just don't think that the 7 or 5 districts encourages that. The other concern I have is, and I know that the Voters' Rights Act demands this, is that the districts get to vote in the general election for their representative. And here's why I'm concerned, is because when a district on its own gets to vote in the general election without allowing the entire city as a whole to vote for each council member, there's no accountability for all to be in front of all the citizens of Wenatchee, to own up to whatever their decisions are and be accountable to the entire city. They're just accountable to their district. And to me, that creates more divide. It could potentially create problems with our different city departments, our different sectors of our community. It could bring problems to our business community. It could bring problems to our downtown community. So that's a concern of mine too. And the other thing too is I'm hesitant to just dive into something without knowing whether it's going to work or not. I hope it works. I really do hope it works. But if it doesn't, then what do we do? What do we do then? And I know that some folks may say, well, we'll look at this and evaluate later. But if it doesn't work, I don't know that we can bring us back to at large. And so that's a concern. I would like to tiptoe my way into districting and not just dive in. I'm being cautious here, and I know we have to do something, but that's why I proposed the 3 district, because I wanted to tiptoe into this, not dive in, to see if it works. Because at 3, then with 3 districts, then we are, better equipped to take a step back potentially as, a council, and see if we could revert or continue to go forward into more districts. But this is brand new. This is something we haven't explored, we haven't had any experience with, and I wish there was a mechanism to step back and say, okay, if it's not working, how do we fix it? And we don't have that mechanism. With 3, I think it'd be a little better to be able to do that. And so because of the reasons I've just stated, I'd like to either put it to a test. I know we've discussed, send it out to the voters and see if the voters really want this. So that's one option. The other option is, go to the 3 and see if it works. But I'm not sure I'm ready to dive in. I'm okay with tiptoeing in, but not diving in.
Anybody else? Any other council members wish to say anything before we vote? Jim?
I've got a couple things I want to say. In the time that I've been on the council, this is probably the most difficult decision I probably have had to make. From the very beginning, I've had a lot of conflicting emotions and thoughts about this thing. It's kind of one of these things that's kind of on this hand, but on the other hand, but I've run out of hands. There's things philosophically that I have issues with particularly in terms of the law, the Voting Rights Act law as written. It's a very not a well-written piece of legislation. And there's a lot of things, and you've got, had conversations with some expert attorneys that have worked on these kinds of things, and they can't really give me a good answer in terms of interpreting what the current piece of legislation says. So you end up with that kind of ambiguity, and I don't handle ambiguity particularly well. I understand, and I have no problem with going to districts. You look at the history of this city, you go back, in the 19-teens and 20s, we had wards. The city was divided up into wards. I guess there's a part of me that sort of looks at this and says, it's kind of a solution in search of a problem. Every community is different. There's a lot of references to Yakima and to Pasco and so forth. The vast majority of the cities in this state don't have districts. So we are moving in somewhat kind of uncharted grounds, and I kind of agree with Ruth there. I don't have a problem with representation. I am concerned that the size of our community leaves us, particularly with the 7-district thing, and that's why you have a very, very small pools to draw from. And so that's different. I mean, Yakima is a city of almost 100,000. We're 34. So there's a big difference there between their 7 districts and our 7 districts in terms of population. But I do believe that representation and having all the variety that implies on a council is a good thing. But I do have real reservations. I will vote for this ordinance as presented to us. But I do have, there's some real trepidation here because Wenatchee is in a place where we are really moving forward right now. Things are really working well. I just really don't see that there's a compelling legal reason to do it. But I think that my hope, and kind of like Ruth said, kind of the hope is that I really do want it to work. I really do hope that it does. But this could be a very divisive thing as well, and I think that's why I do believe that there is value in having at-large positions, somebody that still is at that level of looking at the big picture, the overall position of the city. Which is, you would hope that would be true of all the members that serve on that council. Your elected representatives to Congress, okay? They not only represent their districts, from whatever districts of the state of Washington, but they also represent all the people of the United States of America. And sometimes that's an interesting juggling act. But having that, I think having the both districts and at large, I think that helps to create a more balanced process and view of the city in making the decisions. So that's kind of where I am. I'm rambling, I know, but it's been frustrating working through this. Very few things keep me from sleeping at night, and this has been one of them that has.
Keith?
And I think we all have some very similar feelings to what you're feeling, Jim and Ruth. And, the letters we received, it was very clear that we have a lot of division in our community because a lot of people can't see why we wouldn't go to 7, and a lot of people can't see why we need to go to anything, keep it as status quo. I think the idea of 3 wards was attractive, but unfortunately we didn't have a lot of time to explore it, and it wasn't something that the committee had to work with or think about or anything else. And so I'm leaning towards the 5-2 just because it was one of the options that they did explore. They spent a lot of time on, but as Jim said, I think it's a good balance. not everybody's going to get along with whoever is representing their district, so the two at large gives you somebody else to reach out to if you have a problem with the person who's representing you. So I think it's the best balanced approach at the time. And we are going to have to look at the metrics down the road and see how it's working. And it may be an even harder decision down the road if it doesn't work, that we have to find a solution to fix it. But for now, I think this is the best solution in front of us.
I have to agree with both Councilmember Bailey and Councilmember Huffaker and Ruth too. It's really an unknown. We've heard a lot. The committee did an outstanding job of presenting to us and giving us a lot of information. We've heard from a lot of different community members through the public hearing 3 weeks ago, also through letters and emails and such. I felt like maybe that was a little overwhelming and there was a campaign there, so I asked a lot of different people within the community what they thought, because I just wanted more input. And overwhelmingly, it was, we need to do this. It's the right thing to do. I'm worried about it. It's new, it's different. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know what we're going to do if it doesn't work. But I think we need to go down this road and take this step. And I think it is the right thing to do to make sure that we have representation. Like Keith, I'm leaning towards the 5 and the 2 at large, just because I feel it does give us at least 2 members that are representative of the entire city and can speak for the entire city, not just for their district. And I also feel that the 7 divides the pie just too thin, that we may not be able to get representation for some of those districts that have a lot of population, but they aren't voting members. So that's where I'm headed.
Yeah, I think I echo Linda in that the 5 and 2 is probably the best for the city, best for the council, and best chance to get candidates.
Mark, you wish to add anything before we vote?
Maybe just a couple of things. I think both Councilmember Esparza and Councilmember Bailey made very good points. When we started this process, this was before the Voters' Rights Act was passed. And we started this process to take a look at how could we increase participation in city government, not just people on the council, but improved voter turnout and people actually voting. And I'm still struggling a little bit with what is our metric going to be, and making sure that we do evaluate in time that is what has happened. And if it has, let the public know. If it hasn't, let the public know. It's not an experiment, it's something that we're doing. But let's find out if it's truly a success or not. And so I challenge all of us here to agree after 1, 2, or 3 more city elections that we take a hard look at that. And if there are issues, we air those in public and look for solutions to those. Over the years I've been on the council, we've had several vacancies as council members have moved. And it's always been my observation that we had quite a few people who were willing to apply for council positions, and we rarely saw those who were not selected run for council positions. And I always found that to be kind of interesting. And I would hope that whatever we do, that we find people who are willing to run for council and represent all of the city. Each and every year I've been on the council, when we've done budgets, I have not only voted to adopt the budget, I have voted to increase property taxes each and every year.
Take the 1%, yep.
And those taxes affect everybody in the city of Wenatchee, not just a district. And I would hope that by moving to districts that we don't end up with a group of people who are very parochial in their view of their neighborhood and lose sight of the fact that we are one community. I'm very concerned about that in time, that may be a transformation. And I guess that's another challenge to us, is to make sure that does not happen, that we make sure that everyone is fully engaged throughout the community.
All right, any other discussion, any other comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 6 in favor, 1 against. So I will meet with the city attorney and I think Mayor Pro Tem Esparza maybe in the next week or two to figure out the legal process for sort of putting council members in their respective districts based on the current RCW and the current laws as we believe it to be. So I'm not exactly sure when that'll take place, but we'll keep you posted on that. All right, first, we'll go ahead and keep doing a few more action items here, and then we'll take a break just shortly after 6 o'clock. So first item on our action items would be sewer connection loan program. Brad and Denise?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. We've got some policies that we're trying to keep tweaking as we're getting close to implementing the sewer loan program. So I'm Brad Posenjak, Finance Director.
Denise Pierce, Accounting Supervisor.
And as you know, the city is expanding sewer into new neighborhoods around the city in the Sunny Slope area, and the cost of that is quite expensive. So when that plan went out, there were new connection fees that are relatively expensive to property owners to be able to connect to the city sewer. We don't want that to be we don't want that to stand in the way of people being able to connect to the city sewer. So we're proposing a loan program so that those who can't get financing either through their own bank or a home equity line of credit, if they can't get financing to pay for these fees, then at least they can come to the city and be able to get a loan through us. So some of these fees can total over $10,000 for the connection fees to hook up to sewer. This would only be available to residents who are currently connected to septic and are single family existing homes. So new developers, new construction or multifamily or commercial would not be eligible for this loan program. So what you also have some policies besides the ordinance that we'll ask you to take action on tonight. There are also some policies that we've been working with Public Works and with the city attorney to try to figure out exactly how we're going to put this together. This is the first time that anybody around here remembers that we've ever done any sort of loan program from the city. So that's why they came to you a little bit later than in your packet, because we've been trying to work on them and make sure we've got something that will work for our residents. Some of the items in that policy, one of the things I think that everybody likes to look at are the interest rates that we'll be using. So financing up to 5 years would be at the prime interest rate plus 2%, and financing financing up to 10 years would be the prime rate plus 4%. Currently, the prime rate, at least 2 weeks ago when I looked, the prime rate was 5%. So this would be between 7 and 9%. At this point, the rationale for that is that we don't want the city to be a lending institution. So if we have rates lower than what somebody can go to their bank and get a line of credit for, if our rates are lower than that, then we are, one, we're taking business from banks, and two, we're turning the city into a lender, and that's not our goal. Our goal of this is to make it affordable or manageable for people who can't qualify for a loan. We just want them to be able to connect to sewer, because the more people we can connect to sewer, it makes our sewer system more efficient and effective. So we're trying to find a balance with those rates. So I guess with that, we're hoping to have the council adopt ordinance 2018-21 for the sewer connection loan program. Do you have any questions?
I was looking to see if there was a provision in here similar to what we see with improvement districts, where if property is sold, the remainder is usually paid out, like on a road improvement district or a local improvement district. The balance is usually taken care of at the time that the title transfer occurs. Is there a similar provision in this, that the loan would be paid off at that point?
It's not in the policy itself, it's in the agreement that we'll record with the county, and that we will provide the property owner, they'll get a copy of the agreement. It'll be signed by them, notarized, and recorded on the property. So yes, that is
So
a
that-
requirement.
And that would be a requirement. Then if I participate for 1 year and then I sell to you, at the time of closing, they're going to collect the remainder of that loan and pay off.
That's correct.
Okay,
Any
good.
transfer, whether it's a quitclaim deed or a sale,
Yeah, good,
yes.
good. Thank you.
I'm curious on the interest rate portion of it. You know, I understand, yeah, we don't want to compete with the banks, but this is an idea to try and help out the citizens get connected, and it creates more customers for us. I'm unsure why we wouldn't do more around a prime rate or something like that, just to kind of give them a one-stop shopping. We're going to come here, you're going to be our customer. Yeah, you need some help out. Let's help you out and get you going. Most of the time, I don't know that they would. I suppose they would go to a bank for a equity line of credit or something like that to do it, but those can be quite high at times as well. So,
And yeah, and I think that was just these interest rates were what, after discussion from internal discussion, that we sort of landed on these rates. I guess I'd be curious if there's other rates that you think are more appropriate.
Well, there's already incentive. If you pay it all at once, you did get that line of equity or whatever. It's what percentage discount?
30%.
30%. So then that would even more say.
So if you took the loan, then you could pay us and get you. I can understand.
But that,
If you connect
that also
within-
makes that interest rate, then it should be a little lower.
Yeah.
If you think of it that way.
So yeah, if you connect within 2 years of when sewer's available to your property, then you get a 30% discount on your rates. But I think that discount would apply whether you take a loan or not.
Yeah.
So,
There's got to be some consideration too of us getting essentially in a competitive position with our commercial lenders there. It would seem, like you said, I don't think we want to become
No,
a
we
loan.
Yeah, we don't want to become a lending institution, but on the other hand, we don't want people to have to go and get 15, 20% loans from, I don't know, what's the term you use for
Loan shark.
a loan shark? There you go. Thank you. We don't want a residents getting the 15, 20% loan. So we're trying to find that middle ground where we're protected, because truthfully, if we're loaning to people who can't just go and get a home equity line of credit, the city is taking on a level of risk that the banks aren't going to take on. And so we want to make sure that our rates are reasonable and not, without making us a loan shark or a lending institution.
I just thought of a fairness issue here. So if the more you ask of a loan, the more you have your rate increases, correct?
The longer the term,
The longer the term.
Yeah, the longer the term.
yes.
So to me, it kind of punishes those who really, really, really need the loan, the longer term loan. And those people are usually those individuals who really don't have any money. And so it's almost like we're punishing those, the less money you have, the more you're going to get punished. I have an issue with that.
And unfortunately, it's the nature of the industry.
And I get that. I get that.
And this is why I was thinking the same, is it should just be a one set rate. But
Yeah,
I understand the risk and everything else, but I don't want it to be a burden. We're going to get those people who are required to hook up because their septic has failed, and it's going to be a huge burden to
Yeah.
them. And
Yep.
if they can't get a loan from their bank and we have to charge them a minimum of 6%, probably higher, it's going to be a real burden.
So why don't we take the financing options and just knock them down? Let's just take the interest rate to be prime plus 1 and on over do prime plus 2. I got no problem doing that. That puts you at 6 and 8. That makes you, and you're still fluctuating with the prime rate.
Yeah, I know I should know this, but if I go to a bank, let's say it's $10,000 fee, I'm only gonna pay you 7, correct? 30% discount.
No,
No.
that's not in the interest rate. That's
No,
actually.
but that's just if I wanna hook up, it's gonna
No.
cost me 10. If I give you 10, I'm only gonna have to give
No,
you
that
7?
the 30% discount is for any resident.
Yeah.
Once sewer's available, if they hook up within 2 years of when it's available to them, they'll get a 30% discount.
Even if I get the loan?
Even
through
if you get the loan.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So
Got
even
it.
if you get the loan, you still get the 30%
Oh.
discount.
Perfect, okay.
It's trying to get them to go
The interest
sooner
rate's
than
not so
later.
bad then.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with taking prime plus 1 and prime plus 2. I for those two. I think, you know, right now that 6%, your 30-year mortgage is probably what, in the low 4s. Your line of credit right now is what, 5.5. This is still sort of,
We're gonna be the same as a bank though,
yeah.
right?
We're
People can't go to
we're
a bank.
secured.
No,
Because of credit issues.
But if you're the same or lower than a bank, nobody's gonna go to the bank.
Right.
Oh.
They're gonna all come to the
They'll
city.
all,
or-
I'll go, everybody's gonna go to the
But
city. If we're okay with that, that's fine. I think
Yeah,
that,
I
that's-
think, I
that's
look
fine.
at, I think prime plus 1, which in today's interest rate would be 6% or 7%. For those that need us, the ones that are coming to us are the ones that need us, right? They're not the ones that we should be charging 12% for, right?
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be charging prime minus 2 either, right? So we should be,
no.
so I would go prime, I would change the financing options to be interest rate is prime plus 1 for the 60 months and prime plus 2. And we want people to sign up, right? And I'm more inclined to use that as sort of the range that you use.
Okay. No.
Do you have a concern with it never going below 4% or never going below 6%? Do you have a concern with that?
If it was me, I would let the market dictate it. Market's doing what markets do.
Just do prime,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Prime plus.
Prime plus 1 or prime plus 2.
So a lot of this language we've gotten from other
Right.
city loan programs, which doesn't mean we have to keep it that way, but that's where some of the rationale for some of these came
But
from.
as you said in finance committee today, you said some do prime minus,
Yep.
right?
They do.
So just to encourage, so
No.
that you sort of got them all over the place, right?
No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but just to say, so
Yep. And
Well, and as far as, you know, I guess kind of talking about risk, I mean, this is basically a secured loan, right?
It is. There's
I
a,
mean,
there's a
it- you know,
recorded,
Yeah, I mean,
But
so
we-
it
but we
isn't
could
like
be-
they just walk away from it. I mean,
It is, but we're
when the
second
property
behind a
sells, we
bank
get our
right
money
now.
back.
but we could be in fourth position too,
Yeah.
right? There could be the first and the second and grandmother's third, and then, you know, doesn't mean we're gonna get paid,
Yeah.
right?
That's true. And so, and just for your information, if you take action on the ordinance allows us to put the policies in place, so we don't actually have to take action on that 1% and 2%. Just your feedback, we can change the policies, and we'll be good to go. So you can still adopt the ordinance as is.
Okay, any questions for staff? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 2018-21 of the City Council of the City of Wenatchee relating to the sewer utility and to incentives for conversion of on-site septic systems serving existing single-family residences to public sewers for the purposes of making more efficient use of the city's sewer services and protecting the city's groundwater supply, adding a new section to the Chapter 4.08 of the Wenatchee City Code to be codified as WCC 4.08.140, providing for the creation of connection financing options and rules and regulations pertaining to financing for servability and for effective dates.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Poyer to adopt ordinance 2018-21 of the City Council of the City of Wenatchee regarding providing loans to our city sewer service. Discussion.
And just one other, I guess, thought here on the list of fees here. Now this, what we're talking about here, the loan thing, is basically just to take care of the fees that are owed to the city of Wenatchee. This does not cover, you know, the guy with the backhoe and putting the pipe in and all
That's
that
correct.
kind of stuff. So,
That's correct.
right.
okay,
Yeah, this is just our connection fees only.
that's just our side of it. So the other side of it then still has to be
Yes.
financed in some fashion in order to do it. So we're really only dealing with half the,
Hopefully it's going to be at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of the cost to connect that we're financing.
Okay.
And if we hear from customers that, in fact, they want us to finance all of it, we may come back to you and change the policy. I think right now it's not our desire to do that, but if
Yeah.
that's really what it took.
But if it gets them out of a bind, I'm willing to take that
Yeah,
on.
so I think we'll leave that sort of open in our policies for, you may see us again if that ends up happening.
And then the second thing, and last thing quickly, the Sunny Slope charge was basically a surcharge, I would assume at this point. Is that based on the new infrastructure, the new extension out there into Sunny Slope, that's what this is?
Yes, that surcharge was added last summer, when the new rates
When
were
we did the
also
sewer
adopted.
contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So someone who hooked up, who wasn't in Sunny Slope, was on our normal system and still was an old septic tank, wouldn't be paying the $3,800.
Yep.
So they'd be in the $8,000 range.
Right.
How many people do you project over the next 12 months, year?
We were thinking that it probably wouldn't be more than 15 or 20 that would be, but I know the mayor thinks maybe 20 this year and 40 next year or something.
All I
So-
know is the meeting that I went to, they were very thankful for sewer. They sure as hell don't want to be voting residents of the city of Wenatchee, and they'd like us to finance it if we could. So that's sort of what I got out of the meeting.
Want all the benefits of the city without
Without the
being in the city. Yeah, gee.
Letting you know
I
kind
think
of
we're
what I thought.
shocked, aren't we?
Yeah, what a deal.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
sure that's what they told me, yeah. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's just take a quick little 5-minute break, and then we'll re-adjourn to crank out the rest of the items.
Okay.
I need some water.
It's like getting the email from Chris Crilly. It says, I'm not in the city, but I want to comment on it, and I almost
We don't have to go out there.
All right. I'll call us back into session. We'll start cranking out some action items. Next item on our agenda is regarding Horse Lake Road Sanitary Service Extension. Jeremy. We're sticking with sewer for a while, aren't we?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm here to talk about the Horse Lake Sewer Extension. This is one of the projects that was identified in our sewer comprehensive plan as an infill project. It's just under 1,600 feet of sewer that's going to be serving an existing developed residential neighborhood that's currently on septic systems. Some of those neighbors have actually approached me and said, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Some of them have been very interested in the program that we just discussed for the loans. So you're most likely going to get some takers, assuming we build this project. In any case, we're building the sewer from the existing line in Maiden Lane, heading north. This is back behind Walmart. And we will be terminating at Tanda Lane, which is a private road just south of Quail Hollow. We solicited bids in July. We ran it for a 2-week period, extended it for an additional week since we didn't have a council meeting. And the bids came in right about where the engineer's estimate was. We have a total project cost for $557,000. The low bid came in at $504,000, with the high bid at $671,000. So we had a pretty good range there. But from the inquiries that I've made to the various references that the contractor provided, they seem to have done a good job for the other municipalities that they've done work for. So I'm fairly confident, even though we haven't worked with this particular contractor in the past, that we should get a decent product from them. So I'm here to recommend that the City Council award the contract for the construction of the Horse Lake Sewer Extension to DW Excavating in the amount of $504,323.41, and further authorize the mayor to approve the construction contract.
So Jeremy, where's DW Excavating? Where are they?
They're out of Davenport.
Davenport, okay. Because bids have been coming up I've been thinking 25% minimum higher, so that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of got a little close on this one.
Yeah.
Close is good.
Hopefully under budget we'll end up being even better.
That's even better.
We'll see.
Not that we have any construction going on in the city, because we really don't have anything going on. When is this one going to start?
Depending on how long it gets them to actually get their paperwork in, I would like for them to be able to start construction by the end of this month.
Okay, so there's some thought that'll be done this fall?
Yes.
Okay.
It all depends on when the paving window closes. You know, winter is coming. It's hard to believe in 100-degree weather,
Let's
but
see if we can squeeze some more contracts in here. Dear
I
God.
have a feeling this is going to be it for this year.
How much is that going to affect main thoroughfare? I mean, they got to connect.
Traffic is going to be
Avenue.
fun. Traffic is going to be the most challenging aspect of this project. Don Terrace is basically a cut through around the avenue back behind Walmart. Horse Lake Road is basically a dead end. If you're heading up to Quail Hollow, that's the only way in and out. So as we start work on Horse Lake, traffic control is going to be the most challenging aspect of the project. The contractor is required to allow access to the residents. We're not going to make people stop and park at Walmart or anything along those lines and hoof it back into Quail Hollow. So they will be providing access. It will be slow, and we're planning on closing down Don Terrace to everything except local access while they're doing the construction on Don Terrace between Maiden and Horse Lake.
And they'll be working during the day.
They'll be working during the day.
You're going to be able to get some signs. I know that DOT has done a nice job of, I'm assuming it's DOT, as you're heading into town talking about what's closed, when it's open. Are we going to be able to have something that says Don Terrace is closed?
Yes, we do have a
Sort
traffic.
of out by the bridge?
We do have traffic control plans in place. We don't have anything on the other side of the bridge per se, or
Talking about this side of the Wenatchee River Bridge. So as I decide whether I'm going to turn up by Walmart or go down to Maiden Lane to get to Western,
There
you're going
is-
to tell me that don't go up Horse Lake Road.
there are going to be your standard roadwork aheads, that type of signing as well. There's also going to be some signs that say Don Terrace closed ahead.
Okay.
So there
On
will be.
Wenatchee Avenue?
I need to look at the traffic control plan, but I believe so.
Okay.
But it will actually say Don Terrace?
I'm
Reason I'm asking so
I
many
can make that
questions-
happen. That's
The
it.
reason I'm asking so many questions is we have so many projects
Yes.
going on right now. I see people getting confused about which detour to take because there's multiple detours. And all it says is road closed ahead, detour. And so you take that detour and you see another road closed ahead detour. Pretty soon, we're going in circles.
We're circling around town.
I've seen some very few confused people pulled over on the side of the road looking at their map going.
Okay, I have to say, this happened to me the other day, so.
So, yeah,
Do we have those signs like the DOTs, those big ones
I
that
don't-
are actually?
I don't know that we do. The readers, do we have the big readers?
We could borrow one from the police department that actually allows signage to be put on there and do speed at the same time.
We have one mounted on a truck.
Do we?
We could park a truck on the sidewalk and do it.
Yeah, I just think,
We'll have a sign
Yeah.
out there that'll tell people southbound after they get across the bridge of Don Terrace.
Yes.
yes, that's,
Or-
I think that's
You
the
have,
key.
you have the name on there, that would really
The
help.
name is key.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that was my only
Sorry to
thing.
pick
is-
on you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
I just think you don't want a bunch of people turning right up Horse Lake Road thinking they're going over to Maiden Lane to
And then not
Western
get there.
and then having to turn around. You want those guys just staying on the avenue. That's what I'm trying to get to. Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the City Council to award the contract for construction of the Horse Lake Road Sanitary Sewer Extension Project number 1713 to DW Excavating, Inc. in the amount of $504,323.41 and further authorize the mayor to approve the construction contract.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Harold to award the contract for the Horse Lake Road Sanitary Sewer Extension Project 1713 to DW Excavating, Inc. and authorize the mayor to approve the contract. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jeremy. Miller Street, curb loan. Gary Owen.
Yeah, all traffic problems are Jeremy's.
Nice try.
We've been working on him, but he's still got a little bit to learn about that stuff. Yeah, I'm Gary Owen, the city engineer. I have the unique pleasure of being here tonight to present to you guys a curb loan grant that we've been offered by the Public Works Board of the state of Washington. And this was a loan application that staff put together back in 2016, so it's getting to be a little bit old. I think it was last year that we found out the legislature funded the program and that we were probably going to get our money, and then finally early this year we saw drafts of what the agreement was going to look like, and the final agreement finally we just got last month, the one that's in your packet tonight. So what our intent was when we made application for this in 2016, it was shortly after, I think, I could be wrong, Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was shortly after we adopted the redevelopment plan for North Wenatchee after the 2015 fires. And that North Wenatchee redevelopment master plan included a new road network out there, relocating some roads, a bunch of utility work that needed to happen in order to support kind of a major planned development. Basically everything east of the tracks, from east of the tracks to the riverfront Walla Walla Park area, all the way from the PUD property there along Walnut Street, and then down to the vicinity of our town Toyota Center. So with that, we saw a couple of major needs that we thought we could get funded, with this loan program, and they involved both realignment of North Miller Street, and also a portion of we were going to realign North Miller. There will be future Confluence Parkway. Since then, a few changes have happened. We're not looking at as much realignment, and so I think I mentioned in my agenda report that staff will be coming back to the Finance Committee with a more detailed financing plan of what funds we're going to actually borrow from and what the number is. So this is kind of the way that I look at it. It's kind of a we don't have to borrow $4.8 some million dollars. It's kind of like a line of credit. We can borrow what we need, and we're going to define what our needs are a little bit more this fall with some of the work that Steve's going to be undertaking with an agenda item a little bit later tonight, and doing some pre-design work on our underpasses out there that we're hoping to get funded in the near future. So what this does is basically opens the door, gets the contract done and back to the Public Works Board so they can execute it, and then we can bill them for the work. We were some of the storm sewer work that we were going to do on it has already been done. That's some of the traffic that Jeremy's been messing up there during the night on Miller Street, right out in front of Applebee's. We've already spent most of that money. That was in the neighborhood of $500,000. Less than $500,000, less than 400,000. That's part of the intent of why we borrowed the money, was to update that major 4-foot plus or minus storm line that we've got running down Miller Street. We had looked at potential need to do some relining of that thing all the way down to 9th. That may or may not still be necessary. We're doing some more analysis on it.
Good. Any questions for Gary or any other staff members?
Now, in here, I thought I saw something that said it had to be done this year. Is that an attainable goal? Having the work have done this year, was that in there? Or did I misread it?
No, under the contract, I think we've got 5 years from the date the contract is executed to complete any work that's identified in the declarations in our scope of work, basically. And also included in that is this funding is retroactive back to 2016, when the legislature intended to have this money available to entities like us. So that's how we can, even though we haven't signed this contract yet, after it's signed and approved, then we can bill them for the work that we just did on the Miller Street Storm project.
And is that when the 5 years start, is when we sign the contract, or does it go back to the retroactive that you're getting paid for?
From what I recall reading it, it starts when the contract is executed. But so it's actually,
It's kind of what I
5 +
understood,
2.
but I wanted to just clarify to see if we lost 2 years.
Yeah.
If we're going back retroactive.
Yeah, and there's some nice little, if we can be speedy about things and get them done sooner, we can get a break on that, already pretty low interest rate of 1.66, or we can get the term of the loan shortened and some things like that, if we meet some major milestones.
And there's more into this than just moving the stormwater pipe and some road. There's the transmission lines that kind of run along the street that need to get back along the railroad tracks, so we'll be paying the PUD to do that. So there's a lot more than just sort of storm.
Thank you.
In this sort of project that will help with the ultimate development in that area.
No, any of this interfere with the repave on Wenatchee Avenue? Are we going to?
The current paving work?
The current paving thing,
No.
that won't?
No, in fact, that's why we did the quick little
I know
project.
the current pipe that you're putting in, that you're getting ahead of the game to get.
Right.
So we don't do that, but future things that you're going to be working on around that intersection, that won't involve that. That'll be farther to the east and.
Yeah, that's correct. That's why we took a real close look at that storm line under SR 285 section and found, the problems that we kind of knew we had already, and then had to make kind of a quicker than normal decision to get out there and get that taken care of.
Okay.
So we don't have to tear up a, freshly paved road.
Good. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for the City Council to approve the Public Works Board Construction Loan Contract Number PC 18-96103-019 and authorize the mayor's signature on the document.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Bailey to approve the Public Works Board Construction Load Contract Number PC 18-96103-019, authorize the mayor's signature on the documents. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Well, let's dig up some more roads. Rob?
Good evening, Rob Jammerman, Public Works Director. I'm here on behalf of Aaron Kelly, actually, on the to recommend a recommendation to award a contract to Nepal Electrical for the amount of $149,592 to install conduit. This is a conduit installation project to serve the federal building, the convention center, and the wastewater treatment plant. The funding of the project is roughly split in half between general fund and sewer utility. And we actually took a run at this project a year ago. Our bids were $190,000, so we decided not to move forward. We came back, rebid the project. The budget was $100,000, so we are over budget, but it's a project that we need to move forward. We desperately need to get the conduit into the federal building. We also need the conduit down to the treatment plant so that we can enhance our some of our reliability down there in our SCADA systems. So we're recommending that we award the contract, and then we'll have to circle back to actually pull the fiber, but that will be with a different contractor. So, any questions?
Fiber is definitely the best way to go rather than wireless, because I mean, we're all pretty close proximity.
Yeah, fiber, and we actually, in regards to SCADA at least, we have wireless and fiber, so we have redundant systems. So we're using Sky5 for most of our for a backup on SCADA. So I think because of speeds, I think that I'm looking over at Steve for the federal building and maybe IS for the help, but we would look for the fiber for those speeds.
That makes a lot of sense there. Sewer, I was thinking things didn't happen that fast, but I'm just asking.
Yeah, we need two systems really for reliability.
Okay.
And then Linda's getting dark fiber to the convention center as well on this.
Right.
Yeah. How many people did we get to bid on this? Do you know?
Excuse me?
How many people did we get to
We
bid
had
on
3
this?
bids.
3 bids.
Yeah,
okay.
Nepal Electric was the low bid.
Was the range close? Or do you
I believe the other ones were at least 100,000 higher.
Higher.
Yeah.
And where's Nepal from? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually,
I'm trying to figure out what
I do
our
know
future
they are the same contractor that just did all of the conduit work for the Department of Transportation along Wenatchee Avenue. So that little saw cut trench you saw out there, the same contractor.
That's the cut that meanders on North Wenatchee Avenue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same contractor.
So as we get to this point of setting up in the new city hall and all those kinds of things, I mean, how much more is it going to cost to pull all the fiber to actually make this thing work once we got the pipe in the ground, but doesn't help much until we got the fiber to hook it up to.
Right. So from my understanding, when we had a package previously with conduit and fiber, there wasn't a lot of contractors that were able to do both. That's why we broke it into the conduit first, fiber second. We think just pulling fiber will be more competitive. So we're suspect it'll be around 50,000, but hopefully less. Steve, I'm looking. I don't know if you know anything more than that.
I don't know right off the top of my head. I think it's less than 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do know, I think there's an interest that Locotel will probably bid on it to do some of the work. So.
And then your thing here is conduit and so forth allows for open trench work versus trenchless. So I assume that the open trench is less expensive to do than the trenchless where they have to bore the hole.
It depends on where and whether conflicts there are with their other utilities. But you can see that all that work that they did on Wenatchee Avenue was open cut. It's roughly a 6-inch trench.
Yeah.
And we were told today, because we are paving Mission, that as we get it down to the convention center and the wastewater treatment plant, as you cut across Mission, that we will have that done before it gets paved. So that part will get done just like Wenatchee Avenue did, and then they put that little, and then they'll cut it. So we will actually get that done, so we won't have to tear up the street right after they pave it.
Yeah. Good.
Good plan.
At least that's what we were told was going to happen, right?
That's the plan.
Assuming that we approve the contract tonight, yeah.
All right. Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Nepal Electric for the Wenatchee Underground Conduit Project SW17-05 in the amount of $149,592.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Markart, to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Nepal Electrical for the Wenatchee Underground Conduit Project SW17-05 in the amount of $149,592. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Chief Crown.
That would be helpful for cost sharing.
Looks like we're going to do a little
I'd like to have it tight.
public outreach.
Yes. Tony can do it.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Chief Crown for your Wenatchee Police Department. The item before you is a agreement between the City of Wenatchee and the Washington State University, who will be providing services to create a community survey. The reason for the survey is that we are needing some fresh data from the community to create our strategic plan. Our strategic plan will kick off in 2019 and run through 2023. The services that Washington State University will be providing, they've already created a series of questions. It takes about 20 minutes for the taker to get through. It's pretty comprehensive, talks about fears of crimes, and fits very nicely within our current strategic objectives within the department. So the value of the contract, again, is $3,000. Some of the timelines associated with this agreement, we're already through the development stage. We have a final draft. It has been converted over into electronic web-based form, and now it's also internally through the city with Anna's help and our new intern, converting that over into Spanish. The kickoff for the survey is expected somewhere in late August and run through October. Once the survey has ran its course, they will take and analyze the raw data that's collected and then create a comprehensive report based off of the data and give us that report. So there was a lot of crazy language within the contract. Steve had a fun time deciphering what intellectual property really means.
Those darn cougars, they can't make anything simple.
Oh boy, I'm not touching that one.
Says the man with the husky shirt on.
Well, if it was University of Idaho, it probably would have said, we agree to make a survey. So.
Yeah. Sore losers. I'm just
Yeah, hey, that's my alma mater. I'll pick on myself. So that's the issue before you, is just a agreement allowing the mayor's signature to the agreement. Any questions?
Chief, back a ways, some time back, there was a similar survey done.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correct, it was done back in about 2008.
Okay.
And the information off of there, if you remember back in that area, you had quite a bit of a problem with gangs, street gangs within Wenatchee, and that actually, thank goodness, has subsided quite a bit. So I think there's different elements right now that the public is concerned about. There's a fair piece in there about homelessness, mental health issues, as well as school violence and the fear of being victimized, and also your children going to and from school. So, like I said, it's pretty comprehensive and it's fresh data. It's something it gets at some of the more relevant issues within Wenatchee as it relates to crime.
I guess my ultimate question is there some way to correlate at least some of the data from the past to the new one to kind of see if there's been any changes in public perception about things and so forth?
I think there's going to be some difficulty there. I mean, we went through about 8 iterations of this survey, and I mean it's been pretty big. I mean, we've had it shopped out to the college. Some of the more relevant language about bias-based policing is in there. And some of those issues really weren't hit on in the previous survey. It was, I would say this, the survey that was taken back in 2008 was more very much relevant to that era, that time, the crime that was going on there. So it's been freshened up. It may not be real easy to make some of those correlations, but some of the questions are very much the same. I think they had not the assistance of WSU, but some of the same people through RICOPS, which was an organization that today is defunct, but members came from Washington State University that created that previous survey.
So there's the same type of feel, but definitely different type of questioning.
Well, you're right. No, go ahead.
I know we wanted to, to incentivize people to answer the survey. We wanted to do kind of a prize or something. What happened with that?
Haven't really got very far on that. It would be awesome if we could put on there something like get 4 Seahawk tickets or something like that.
I think we should have Anna deliver Starburst to their house.
Starburst and delivery at the house. That's pretty good.
Because how many surveys you want total?
I would love to have a real good cross section of our city. 35,000 people. We'd like to see 10%. 3,500 would be awesome, but the way that people vote lately, that may not be very possible.
Yeah. Chief, when do you expect the survey to be done, ready to go?
So that date has been set for, and we recognize that there's always hiccups in the process, but they should have the raw data analyzed by November 30th and delivery of the report by December 15th. That'll give us
But the survey itself?
The survey itself ends in October 15th. So it's going to run from.
The schedule in here says mid-August.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The reason why I was asking is because to get the Latino community, you definitely want to hit up Fiestas Mexicanas. That's the biggest event of the year. That's where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck.
Anna and I were also doing some strategizing, and we talked about the pop-up event up here. And I haven't hit up Dale with this yet, but it would be kind of cool to have like 6 iPads on a table with the survey already queued up that, hey, you got to sit, take some time off and go through the survey. The other piece is particularly like a large event like Fiestas Mexicanas is actually handing out a business card size notification with maybe a QLR code on it where you can do it right from your phone or just the website listed on there where folks can go to. We really wanted to jump into the more technology phase with having it being web-based. I know that there's been options out there in the past where you got a survey sent to you in your utility bill or something like that, but we're really going to try and push it, maybe get some help from Coho Radio or some of the other radio stations in the area.
You know anyone that works at Coho?
Maybe.
Okay.
So that's the plan so far.
Your Honor, I move that the City Council approve the sponsored project agreement ORSO number 134458-001 with Washington State University.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Markart to approve the sponsorship agreement with Washington State University, agreement ORSO number 134458-001. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chief. Mr. King, looks like you got 3 or 4 items here.
Architectural engineer, city hall remote. Okay.
First one up is the Forte and Pacific Engineering regarding City Hall.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve King, Economic Development Director. So as you're aware, we're working on securing a lease with, or Social Security is working on securing a lease with us for this City Hall building. And so we looked to our A&E roster for architectural and structural engineering services to do the remodel work on this building. And so based on the experience that folks have in this building, we are recommending that we go with Forte and Pacific Engineering. They helped not only do like the Council Dais years past, they've helped with numerous projects, and they also helped us bid when we put in the offer for Social Security lease.
So how far do we go with them? I mean, they're on the A&E roster, so we're just gonna sort of monitor their work until we actually have a signed lease. Or are you just gonna say go full throttle?
I got word today that Social Security is going to give us the first draft of the lease next week. Of course, I've heard that a little bit before. So, what I'd like to do is get everything lined up, get contracts going, and if we get a lease that looks like it's good to go next week, even though it won't be done by council or won't be approved by council yet, I will issue a go forward with these guys. To get working, because we want to do this in the winter when we get good bid prices. If we don't get a lease from Social Security, I'm going to put them on hold. I just don't really want to spend a lot of resources if we're don't have a lease in hand from Social Security. So that's the thought process. We can't wait forever, but I could wait a couple more weeks. Yeah.
Because all this interior stuff's got to be designed and, right?
Yeah, it's all these walls get gutted. We have to put a little bit of earthquake stability stuff in the basement or down below. So, yeah.
But if we don't get the lease, we won't move forward at all with the remodel.
Right, yeah. So I just want to get authorization for the mayor to sign a consultant agreements for this. Yeah.
Understand.
I just don't want us to get the cart ahead of the horse too far.
Yep.
No.
Yep. And that's why you are now the horse cart driver.
I'm in charge of the driving, okay.
Now, this is the cost of this and the remodel, the actual work itself and whatever. Now that, as I understand, that gets incorporated into the lease agreement. They're paying us back for doing that.
Yeah, so that's a
Or-
good question. We have shell improvements that have to be done to this building that we're on the hook for, that we factored into our base lease rate. And that's somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 to get the building ready. And then their tenant improvements, which is probably up to another $500,000, gets added on top of our base rate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we'll pay to make it earthquake proof and we'll pay to gut the building,
yeah.
right? That's it, and then they pay for everything else.
Where
And-
do the design costs come in? Or that's part of the.
Yeah, it's part of the $400,000 or $500,000, yeah. And then our, just for clarity, Aaron, our facilities operations manager, has asked that we take care of a couple issues that are needed to be dealt with right now. We've got an air conditioner. Right now, there's hoses spraying water on the old air conditioner up there to try to keep it working. So as he said, if we're going to have a tenant in here, he wants some of these system things fixed. And so that would be included in the show.
We get the air
show.
conditioning off the police building?
We
Open
spend
the
so much
window.
money on air conditioning.
Yeah.
Open the mayor's window.
Yeah. I might jump. All right, so then I would entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract with Forte Architects and Pacific Engineering for services associated with the remodel of the city.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Harold to authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract with Forte Architects and Pacific Engineering regarding the remodeling of the current city hall. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and now we're talking about the new city hall.
New City Hall, yes. We hired, as you'll recall, we hired ARC Architects last year to help us with schematic design and to do some building system evaluations. We thought we would be a lot faster in getting the closed on the federal building and getting that work done. It's okay. It was actually a good time to take, and so their contract ran out July 1st, and so we're recommending that authorize the mayor to extend it till the end of the year.
And what are we expecting done by the end of the year? Are we expecting detailed schematic drawings? What are we sort of expecting from?
Sure.
from
The
them?
their scope of work for schematic design basically means you get a floor plan and a cost estimate for that. With the building systems evaluation, they'll incorporate that in. They've already done some estimating with that, and it's just a matter of now developing the floor plan based on space needs. And we've already have the wish list of 40,000 square feet. Now we've got to go through an efficiency process, and we've been waiting for city hall tours, change management, a bunch of the work that we do to make sure we're very efficient in our space needs.
And we did run a bunch of staff through both new WashDOT building out in North Wenatchee and then the new Goodfellow building, so I can see what more current workspaces look like.
Good.
I don't think this probably makes a material difference, but on the AIA form at the top, it identifies ATC Architects. It does correctly identify ARC Architects in the signature line, but I assume that doesn't have a material issue. Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the City Council to authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to the contract with ARC Architects, extending the completion date to January 1, 2019.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Esparza to authorize the mayor's signature on Amendment 1 to the contract with ARC Architects, extending the completion date to January 1, 2019. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And someone to start NEPA.
Yeah, so we applied for the Confluence Parkway last year, the infra grant request, and we also, through the Transportation Council, made a request for money from the state of Washington to initiate the environmental process, which is denoted as NEPA. And so we were awarded $400,000 from the state. We also, as Gary talked about, have Public Works Trust Fund money to begin work in that area where where the fires were, where Diamond Foundry is located. And so we've combined two elements of work here together for one consultant because they're kind of related. And that is to do $400,000 worth of NEPA work and $300,000 worth of preliminary design work in that area. And so we put out a request for qualifications. We received 2 submittals. One was a KPG Anchor Environmental Team, and the other was Parametrics. Parametrics did the pre-NEPA work. So both firms had great submittals and great qualifications. We decided a selection panel consisting of WashDOT, PUD, the City of Wenatchee, and the Transportation Council all got together, looked over the proposals, and we decided that the KPG Anchor Environmental Team would probably would do a better job for us in this case. KPG is already doing work on North Wenatchee Avenue. This stuff all ties together at the 30,000 foot level, and when you start looking at the environmental process, you want that 30,000 foot look. And then the other thing is our key staff person with Parametrics that did the pre-NEPA study just moved back to New York City. So we need somebody here in the region. There's going to be a lot of coordination with Federal Highways Administration, WashDOT, and the Chelan PUD. So that's why we're recommending that we go, that the council go with the KPG team for this work.
All right. Any questions for Steve? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I will make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract with KPG Engineering for services associated with NEPA review for Confluence Parkway and preliminary engineering design for the North Wenatchee Master Plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Markart to authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract with KPG Engineering for services associated with NEPA review for Confluence Parkway and preliminary engineering for North Wenatchee Master Plan. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Steve, where are we, or Your Honor, where are we in terms of hiring somebody that's going to be the kind of the project manager overseeing?
So what we decided to do is put Steve sort of in charge of it from the city side. Once Rob got in, they just sat down and tried to figure out. So I think Steve is sort of Wenatchee's NEPA person, and so they'll be working directly with the consultants, but it was decided that Steve would be the one that would do that from our side. We were going to hire someone internally. Right. We looked at some candidates, some local people, and then we just sort of, as some changes happened in Public Works and stuff, we sort of decided to turn that over to Steve.
Okay.
So he is, when you have questions with NEPA, you go right there.
All right. Okay, very good.
The other part of it was the hiring the facilities person to take the load of the facilities work
Yeah.
that he's doing
Which
off.
we haven't been
so-
able to find someone for that yet, but, yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to find a facilities, sort of manager to manage the construction of this building, the construction at the federal building, and then all of the leases and those sorts of things that Steve's currently doing. So we're out trying to hire that sort of person. We haven't had much luck in terms of the right application and stuff, but the thought was to get him out of sort of the facility part,
Okay.
and then free him up to do neat. But currently, he's doing everything,
Yeah. Okay.
including
Yeah,
washing the
so-
windows over there. And
Yeah. Yeah, you know, got a really full, Steve has a really full plate, and
Yes.
and so that makes sense to
yeah, so we're trying to
relieve that.
wean that part off of him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Rob.
Good evening again. So the item before you is 2 amendments to the RH2 General Services contract for SCADA, which is our communication system for our computers at the treatment plant and out at regional. But before I kind of give you the details, I wanted to back up a second. In all of the juggling of, we have a big agenda tonight. We had a big agenda at the Finance Committee. Brad and I realized that we inadvertently left this off the Finance Committee earlier today.
Well, we can't do it then.
So Brad and I
All right.
talked and we said.
Finance committee, we got to vote on this. Are we going to let Rob go forward or not?
So
All
we
right.
can come back on the 23rd and go
No,
Finance
no,
Committee.
we're
and-
ready to go.
Okay. So just wanted to be truth in lending, right? So we have an existing contract with RH2 for $57,000. That included a small minor amendment that was done earlier this year. The budget for this SCADA contract that we had was actually $250,000. That's what we had budgeted. So we've now come back. We've used up the $57,000, which was on-call services, and RH2 says we've estimated around $40,000 to get us through the end of 2018. And this is what this is if we have problems with the SCADA system, we have to call RH2 out. They either go out to regional or they come to the treatment plant to work on issues there with that system. So that would carry us through the rest of this year. And then to help hopefully resolve these call outs, we've identified that we need to isolate our SCADA system or sort of have some isolation from our IS system. Because when we do some upgrades to IS, it affects the SCADA system. And so we're working through a process right now. We've been working with Dale, the manager in IS, and with RH2 to isolate those systems. They came up with a good program. But that's going to cost about, in consultant service, about $49,000. So that's the third amendment here is then to separate that. So looking ahead, we'll separate these systems. We should have less call out, so our overall ongoing call out contract with RH2 should be less. So the ask tonight is to approve these 2 amendments. They total just under at $90,000. It'll be bring the overall contract up to $147,939. We're, as I mentioned earlier, we were budgeted at $250 for the year, so we're still well under that.
So these 2 systems conflict?
So and again, this is sort of not in my wheelhouse of expertise, but as an example, when Microsoft releases patches, and I'm looking over for a head nod, I'm going down the right path, right?
Yeah.
So when Microsoft releases patches, when we for security, if they sometimes they aren't compatible with our systems on SCADA, so we'll get alarms and failures out at regional or at the treatment plant, and so then we spend about 5 to 10 hours trying to figure out what caused it. And so we're going to try to isolate those systems so that when we do patches to our security system on our city network, it won't affect the SCADA system. We will still have security measures to install there, but there's a company that actually does a lot of tests. After Microsoft releases these patches, there's another company, I can't remember the name, that does sort of these tests to make sure they're not going to affect these SCADA systems. And that will be then done after. That's
It's always Microsoft's fault.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my attempt at explaining something that I have a limited
That's actually a
knowledge.
really good explanation because Microsoft has done that to a lot of companies lately, and Windows 10 operating systems now, unless you have professional, they just put updates in when they feel like it, and all of a sudden things don't work anymore.
Yep.
And security has been paramount on everybody's minds.
It
and so
isn't
it's-
just to companies, it's to individuals.
Yep, it's broken all kinds of things.
And it's an interesting kind of internal discussion because you have our IT department that wants to control it all because it's our security. Ultimately, when something breaks, we're going to go get Dale, right? Yet we have RH2 running SCADA, and that's, so I think getting these two separate and making sure we understand who's in charge of what is going to be good sort of internally, because sometimes those things,
Make sure
you know how the
there's-
computer people are.
Make sure there's no back door.
Yes. All right, so I'd entertain a motion if we had one.
I'll make,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion for the city council to approve the contract agreement amendments 2 and 3 with RH2 engineering agreement provided on-call engineering and SCADA support services and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Harold, to approve the contract agreement amendments 2 and 3 with RH2 Engineering, providing all-call engineering and SCADA support services and authorizing the mayor's signature. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob. All right, I will open up a public hearing item. Next item is regarding our 6-year tip. We'll first hear from staff. Council can ask staff questions or turn over to the public for any comments they have before the final adoption, if any, by the city council. So Gary Owen, take us through our tip.
All that public, you were just sure we're here for that public
I'm
meeting.
sure they
is
were here
gone.
for this part of it.
It's usually standing room only when we do this annually. I don't know what happened this year.
I almost thought we should have done this one first tonight, just to make people go
Just
through
for
it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah. So I think you're all familiar with the annual update to our transportation improvement program. We have to do it for legal purposes. We also do it for its good public information. We keep this plan on our website. It's 58 projects long. It's the same as it was last year. I won't go through every bullet item unless somebody asks me to.
We've had this in advance and we've all read it.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, we're knocking about 6 projects off of the list this year that are constructed or under construction. So we've added 6 more, so we got the same total number. You know, a lot of these projects are way out there. A lot of them are a lot closer. Some of them up on top are funded. Most of them, one way or another, come out of one of our sub-area plans or action plans. And a lot of them, you know, we'd like to get as many of them done, obviously, as we can, have a big year like we're having this year. So if you have any particular questions or would like further explanation on, you know, any of the highlights of the thing, I'd be happy to do more of that for you.
Hearing no questions from the city council, I will turn it over to any members of the audience that wish to address the council on this public hearing item. Seeing no takers, I will turn it over to the council for any action and/or discussion.
Well, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2018-22, adopting a revised and extended comprehensive street program for the ensuing 6 years for the city of Wenatchee as required by the laws of the state of Washington.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Kulas and a second by, I'm not sure who, Councilmember Bailey, to approve ordinance number 2018-22, adopting the revised and extended comprehensive street program for the next 6 years for the city of Wenatchee as required by the laws of the state of Washington. Discussion.
Just a comment, Your Honor, just, it always never ceases to amaze me, the sheer amount of stuff that is constantly in motion, and credit to your department, you and your department, Gary, to keep all this stuff moving along and keeping track of things and making sure the city things get done. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll pass that along to the troops.
Thank you very much. I mean, he's right. It's a huge list and lots of plans that go behind it a lot of
Well,
times.
and there's
so-
not only is there a huge list, but then there's all the hand-holding on the project in front of the hospital and all the hand-holding for Jacob on the spring water. I mean, these guys are out
Yeah.
in the field. I saw Jeremy almost hit him walking down the street the other day because he was looking at the stormwater project. I mean, so they're out in the field doing their stuff and doing a great job on behalf of the city. And,
Yep, absolutely.
some of that stuff's not very easy. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gotta remember where I'm
It's a
at.
serious threat.
Yeah.
And speaking of all the construction, Jeremy almost getting run over on sewer, I had a lot of comments from the neighborhood and the area of Lemaster. I mean, they understand there's a lot of dust and everything else, but they've been really impressed with the contractor in there. They wanted to pass on, thanks for all your efforts to keep us.
That's Chatham
get-
Hill, Lower Chatham Hill, that's
Lower
the
Chatham
sewer
Hill.
project.
Oh,
Yeah.
with the sewer.
Yeah.
With
So
Rodarte
they were
out
just-
there.
They were just real pleased with how well the contractor had worked with them, making sure they could get in and out of their driveways, and they were, despite the mess, they're very happy.
Good.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of work done out there and tearing up the county roads. They're having a little trouble getting onto the state highway, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Do we have any issues with the county?
You want the laundry list or just?
With respect to streets?
Yeah.
No.
Regarding what?
Oh, good.
No,
'Cause
we're-
we had such a hard time with the franchise agreement. I'm just curious if that all went away.
No, they're pretty happy with the terms of that, and they knew what this contract was going into it. So yeah, we haven't had any issues crop up since we started construction.
Good.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy I'm never happy for the first snow, but I'll be happy when we're done building stuff this year.
Yeah, and it's
And I'm
paved.
sure Jacob will be too, and Gary and the whole engineering crew out there. 'cause
Oh, we
they-
got electronic parts on order that aren't gonna be coming in till Christmas. Jacob's making sure of that. So we'll have contractors out there in the snow too.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's paved by now.
Allison, I've got no idea what to add on the mayor's report. We were in Spokane yesterday, meeting with some Spokane officials, ran into Senator Cantwell at a groundbreaking. Met with the mayor, Condon, who puts me to shame in terms of talking. That guy can go. And what else is going on the big picture stuff?
So just in terms of schedule, we don't have a work session next week. Because
So what's sort of happening, and just to kind of keep you guys up to breast from staff's perspective, our committee work that we do, so the Public Works Committee sees lots of stuff, the Finance Committee sees lots of stuff. And so when Glenn says, hey, we're gonna increase, planning and building fees by $4, you wanna have it at the work session? I say no, right? Because we don't wanna, so we are really sort of having, lots of those discussions are taking place at the different various committees that is just sort of regurgitating that if we start doing, so we're having problems getting stuff to work session items.
And that's fine, and I think that we need to be a little more proactive on identifying things that we want to be studied in that. And actually, I have a few that I'll pass on.
Okay.
Before, probably in the October timeframe, October-November timeframe.
Okay.
So things that require a little bit of research.
Perfect, yeah, because I think we're ready to do that. It's just, it's amazing how much those two committees sort of take on and get educated, and it's like, well, that, so it's sort of happening by default at those sort of levels, so. Allison, what else?
I think those are the big things right now. Just really busy with managing construction, getting the electoral process discussion happening. So those are the big things.
Yeah. Okay, council members, anything for the good of the order?
Just it was an amazing day yesterday.
Yeah, there was a lot.
What?
WDA PUD discussion, is that worth?
We already discussed that, didn't we?
We're fine. We attended the Wenatchee Downtown Association meeting yesterday, and it was a good meeting.
So I will say this.
As usual.
For those that aren't on the Finance Committee, and I offered my apologies to the Finance Committee today. So as the PUD and the port were coming together in this agreement for the purchase of the property and all that sort of stuff, they asked if the city would partner with those two agencies in terms of studying Fifth and Wenatchee Avenue in terms of what its long-term use might be. So I agreed to participate in thirds with them, so it's $75,000 from each of the three entities to kind of study Fifth Street. I did it trying to be a good partner with the PUD and the port, so we are gonna commit to a little bit of money. We'll think we'll get some curb funding for 50,000 of it perhaps, so we are trying to help with that ultimate transition. Allison is gonna represent the city in that. She's done sub-area plans, she's done a lot of that sort of stuff, so she'll represent the city on a team to help continuing the focus on Fifth as they start figuring out how to. What I told Steve Wright, point blank in a meeting, I said, what we're seeing with, especially like with WashDOT, and they're being good partners, but they built their new shiny building, and they less care about their older building. And so we get some homeless folks in there, and the windows kind of get broken and things like that sort of happen, and they sort of like, well, that's going to be your problem one of these days. I really don't want that to happen at 5th and North Wenatchee Avenue where the PUD is gone and they go, well, we just don't care anymore. So we really have to hold them accountable to that process, right?
Look, here's history.
Yeah.
Old Wenatchee High School, Deaconess Hospital. Tell me how it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, break the trend.
Yeah, exactly. And they've committed some money to.
And that
actually
doesn't
doing-
mean putting a chain link fence with concertina wire
Right.
around it.
No. And so it's up to us as a council and the community to hold those two organizations accountable to that sort of plan. So
We have a great code enforcement department now.
yes, yeah, but that's not what we want. We want that to be an asset, and it's up to us to continue to push that. And ultimately, it's the community's responsibility to tell the PUD you need to make sure that this becomes an asset, not a liability. So we will do our best to keep that front and center with the PUD as they start moving their way out.
So where are we at this point in terms of them? I mean, they're out, but they still own it. Are we close to getting?
So I think it's going to take them a long time. They actually don't have the legal documents yet to do the trade to actually purchase the properties. Hope to have that done by the end of the year. I bet you they design in 19 and probably build in 20 and 21, and I don't expect them out of there until 22. Right?
Seriously.
Yeah, 21, 22. Don't you think, Steve? Is that sort of a reasonable time frame?
PUD.
Yeah. And so they're not going to be gone right away. So that's going to, so as I've told Steve and others, I said, I think what's going to happen is people sort of come to town, and they do, and they'll find Steve and say, what's going on? What's available for development? And we'll run them out to the PUD offices now and say, this is available. And we'll start working that sort of program and sort of see what hits. But we just need to keep, it's a big deal to our downtown. You know, as we've talked earlier today about downtown being important, that 5th Street property is hugely important, and we need to make sure that it's active and a vibrant part of our community. That is the start of a stretch that has not been very vibrant. When you start heading to the north, that's an area we would like to do some more with, right? There's some pretty tough buildings in there and some old industrial stuff, and so we want to make sure that becomes an asset and not one that's really struggles. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that we sort of have committed some money to helping with that process. Anything else, council members, for the good of the order?
So yesterday at Rivercom, Jim Fossey, the executive director, tendered his resignation. Things are actually going well at Rivercom, but he feels like it's just time to retire. So he'll be there probably through January, and we'll start looking for a new director. And he'll be there to kind of handhold as the transition occurs. So.
And Allison, have we heard at all from the new jail director?
Not
Has he
yet.
been in contact with the chief, do we know?
Those communications are going
Okay,
on, yeah. We had to verify some of the booking procedures and access, yeah.
They
So
have hired someone?
they have interim Bill Larson.
Oh, okay.
Who
He's the
many
old
of
guy.
you know. He has served.
And
in
Brad,
other-
did I see where the jail bill was about normal now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Still a little bit lower than what we normally expect, but.
Okay. So with your new contract with the jail, where we went from so much per month to $96 a day, so far this year, we've saved $300,000? So, just an FYI.
We had a dinner Tuesday night for some Masawa exchange students that are here for a couple of weeks. They're taking classes out at Wenatchee Valley College, and I don't speak any Japanese, and they spoke very little English, but you know what? We managed to
You figured
communicate
out
just
just fine.
fine.
Yeah.
And they are just the nicest group of young people you will ever meet.
You're gonna have a blast, Linda. All right, anything else for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned.